Halls of Horror in Palmerton, Pennsylvania. Now this one was a good one. This one was a really good one. The actors were great, the scenes were great. It's not very expensive. It costed $35 plus we had like a coupon, so I got $2 off. But the regular price for a blood experience is $35. You could also pay $20 if you want to get the non-blood experience when you go through. I'm going to explain the difference to that a little bit later on in the video, but it's definitely worth the experience to shell out that extra 15 bucks for the blood experience because it's fun and it's intense. If you're a big horror enthusiast, you will love this. And if you aren't squeamish to having people right up in your face, putting their hands all over you and grabbing you and threatening you in really violent manners, then this is not the place for you. The first thing I noticed about the Halls of Horror was the location. It was right off this main road in Palmerton, Pennsylvania. There's no parking lot for this. It was just kind of street parking. And they had all of their like little gimmick cars parked outside and big advertisements for Halls of Horror. One thing I will say about the outside display is that it is really menacing, and they have this guy walking around in this little devil outfit with this like fur thong on. It's really funny. We were interacting with him a little bit while we were waiting in line. He's a cool dude. They had all these gimmick cars outside, this like hearse that had House of Horrors on it. And it was cool. It was cool stuff. They had some people outside taking pictures for you. They do like a before and after of you before you go in for the blood experience. That's the key difference here that we're going to talk about as well, because it was kind of 50-50 with the people in line. Some people were going for the blood experience. Some people were going for the non-blood experience, which is basically just a toned down version of the blood experience from what I understand. There was a guy in line who explained it to us kind of like this.
It's going to be the same pass. It's just the actors know when you're marked with these shirts that they need to amp it up a little bit. And of course you get dirty. So I mean, so they gotta back it off a little bit with the other group because they have a whole other routine to play out when they're dealing with you guys. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I get it. Okay, yeah, that's cool.
So basically, non-blood experience is regular Snapchat. Blood experience is premium. You do get a free t-shirt with the blood experience, which definitely comes in handy when you start to get sprayed with fake blood. We're gonna go into that a little bit more, and I got a few pictures for you guys of the aftermath of what the blood experience looks like. It gets really intense. It gets really intense in there. So anyway, while you're waiting in line, the line is moving very, very slow because the attraction takes a decent amount of time to go through. And what I really appreciate about this too is that it's not like some haunted attractions, especially Dorney in my experience, where you're walking and there's like a group that's right in front of you and then there's a group that's right behind you, and it's kind of like they're ruining the scares because you're anticipating their screams and everything. So we were lucky enough to not have to deal with anything like that. It really makes you feel like you are all alone walking through this. They do a good job of pacing with that. Leads to a longer time for a wait, but if you're willing to wait for it, it's definitely worth the experience. And that's not even to say that the wait was very long. I think we got there relatively early in the day. We got there maybe a little bit after 8. They open at 7 p.m. and are open till 11 p.m. And the line was maybe like 20-30 minutes. Not bad. And especially considering going through the maze itself is like 20 minutes, it's definitely worth it. It's not like you're waiting for a 5-minute maze or something like that. It's definitely bang for your buck with this one. They also make you sign a release form right when you go there, waiving them of any liabilities for the actors putting their hands on you or any accidents that may happen while you're in there. I didn't really read it over too much, but it seemed like it was just kind of a gimmick thing to scare you a little bit more, because after we filled it out and signed our names, it's not like they took it, they just kind of gave it to us to hold on to. So it was just a fun little added thing to make it seem a little bit scarier. But anyway, before you end up going in, they do give you goggles for the blood experience too, because you're gonna get some shit sprayed in your face, as I will mention as we go through here. By the way, this review is gonna have a few of the spoilers of what goes on in the maze, but I'll make sure to give some warnings before we actually get to that. So if you're interested in actually checking out the maze and don't want any spoilers, you can just skip ahead. I'll leave a timestamp in here for you. Before we went into the maze, there was one more worker who was giving us the rundown of the actors will be touching you. You are not allowed to touch them. They were threatening to, kick us out of the maze itself if we end up getting, you know, violent back with the actors or whatever, acting in self-defense. Gotta remember, it's just an experience. It's a performance piece. Don't trigger your survival instincts and start fighting the actors. Now, I'm not one to actually really be afraid of these haunted attractions. I can't get past the fact that I know that it's actors at the end of the day. So at no point is it really truly like scaring me, but I really appreciate these like experiences nonetheless. Like I said, I love horror stuff, and I just treat it like an immersive horror experience, and it is a really fantastic thing. The group in front of us may not have felt the same way because they ended up bailing on the maze like 30 seconds into it, right after they went through. We have all these workers walking in behind them to like get them out of the maze, and they end up coming back out through the entrance. So that was our clue right away. They couldn't even make it past the first room, so we knew we were in for it. At this point, we're entering the actual attraction, so anybody who doesn't want any spoilers, make sure to skip ahead to the timestamp that will be down in the description below. So the first thing that happens is we're led down the stairs by one of the workers who's shining a flashlight down a dark hallway, and the scene is kind of set up like, I don't know, I guess you would think like the first Saw movie, where I just kind of see tiles and there's blood splattered all over the walls. I don't know what to expect as we go around this little dark corner, but the worker yells out, we have 3 people coming for the blood experience. I guess they yell it out ahead of time so the actors know whether or not to dial it up or not for the blood experience. But anyway, we end up walking in, and I am immediately attacked by this religious nut who throws me into this little chair that's like this little confession box thing, and immediately takes this little like cup of blood that he has and like starts wiping it all over me, telling me to confess my sins. So at this point, friends are behind them laughing. I'm sitting there laughing, getting fake blood thrown all over me while the actor is yelling for me to confess my sins. It was really funny, and it was like a really like intense right away. I guess that was what the group ahead of us couldn't handle. I could definitely understand that, but they weren't even having the blood experience either. But so right off the bat, they're throwing you into the chair, they're screaming in your face, they're, you know, rubbing this fake blood all over you, and it's some creepy stuff. I'm not gonna do like an actual rundown of every single room, because to be honest, there's a lot of rooms. I don't remember every single room. What I'll be talking about more is like the key points of walking through and the really crazy shit that happened when we were walking through the maze. So after that, we end up getting to this like barber dude who's like freaking the fuck out over my long hair. He's like pushing me up against the wall, doing these little snips. I hear the scissors moving. At that point, I'm genuinely worried that he's gonna fuck up and actually cut my hair. Then I'd probably break that rule and end up punching me, an actor, and get it kicked out. Luckily, he didn't, however. He just threw me into this barber chair, took a big handful of shaving cream, and smacked me right in the forehead with it. It was pretty funny, and I just get covered in all this white shit, and it was great. One of the workers took a picture of me after, and that is what I look like after walking through the entire maze. So we're like 2 minutes into this experience, and I already have like fake blood. I got shaving cream all over my face, and we're moving on to the next thing. We have a few other actors that are like yelling and screaming in your faces, grabbing people's hairs, being threatening and whatnot. They make these little like rape threats, threats to like grab you and grope you and stuff like that. So as I mentioned, very intense stuff. So if you don't have the mindset that you can handle stuff like this and know that it's fake, it's acting, it's just a haunted experience, you will not fare well in something like this, because it's right in your face. It is anxiety inducing, and it is really fucking wild. There was a dude who I was kind of giving like a hard time to as I'm walking through, because he was just kind of grunting and groaning at me. At a moment, his face kind of looked like the dude from Slipknot, so we were asking him if he was Corey Taylor. He wasn't answering us. He kind of let us go, and then I'm walking down this hallway. He sneaks up behind me with this like chain thing and just tries to grab me by the throat. I like put my like fingers up there, and he's like holding me up by this chain thing, going like whispering stuff in my ear. I couldn't even really hear what he was saying, but it was something. He got some satisfaction out of it. For a moment, it genuinely scared me too, because thing around my neck, dude pulling me back with like genuine force. It's not like he was messing around with it either, and it's not like he really let up either. He was really holding on to it while he was whispering whatever the fuck he was whispering into my ear. I guess I was so scared at the time I couldn't process it, but really I just couldn't hear over all the other noises in there. So anyway, we get on to some other stuff. There's like this coal miner dude who's sitting there asking us if we have gold in this southern accent while he's like holding this pickaxe and a gas mask and stuff. That was a pretty cool gimmick too. There was a lot of different gimmicks and stuff here. Like you had your typical clown stuff and your redneck meth heads and stuff like that, but you also had a lot of like cool in between kind of weird, like there was a radioactive dude, there was, as I said, the coal miner guy. There's just a lot of weird characters to go through, and they definitely have a lot of individuality and make it a point to like set the different tones as you're walking through the experience, which I definitely appreciate, because if it was all the same shit walking through, 10 minutes in you'd be like, all right, I'm fucking done with this. 10 minutes through, I also actually thought that we were done because they had all these signs for the end, this, that, and the other thing, and you're walking up these stairs and kind of like to this more outside area, so you're kind of thinking that you're done. At that point, I was thinking that the haunted experience would have been maybe like B- at best or something, maybe C+. It was kind of short, but it was only like halfway, so it was a cool little tease there, just a heads up. If you see signs for the end, just know it is not the end. You are like halfway through. And there's a whole bunch of other shit where they're filling up syringes with fake blood and squirting it all over you. One thing was actually really funny. They had these two nurses that took me and my buddy and like threw them onto this table to do like an ultrasound. So they basically just like, I guess the jelly whatever thing that you put over like a pregnant woman's belly before you do the ultrasound, they just took like a handful of flour and like smacked it onto them and start like rubbing it around, and they take this like the thing that the camera thing that they use, they gave it to my other friend and she's like putting it on his belly. It was like a really funny experience. But yeah, and the actors were like awesome. Their makeup designs were really cool. They had these like weird shaped like teeth and stuff like that, and the colored contacts. They definitely went all out with their experience, and it was cool. It makes it worth the $35 or $33 in my case, because I had $2 off. It makes it worth the experience going through it. You don't feel cheated when you're walking through. And it's also worthy of note too that this is the same price that you would pay for like a one-night admission into Dorney Park, where yeah, you're gonna walk through and see like 8 different haunted attractions, but none of these haunted attractions even kind of compare to Dorney Park. I know that's my only other review on this channel so far, so it's kind of my only benchmark. And as I had mentioned, Dorney Park is at the end of the day a kids park. By the way, if you haven't seen my Dorney Park review, link down in the description below. But this place is not Dorney Park. It is like no other. It is specifically designed to just scare the shit out of you. Pretty sure it's even 18 and older too. I don't think you would even be able to get in with like parental guidance or whatever. At least that's what it seemed. I could be wrong. If someone knows better, let me know in the comments below. Also, I should mention, if you're not a fan of weird redneck characters whispering sexual stuff to you and playing out a fake rape scene, definitely don't walk through this exhibit, because that is what happened to one of my friends. He got grabbed by this angry redneck meth head dude, and he threw him onto this bed and simulated a little rape scene. It was funny. Good times. And it was like this really crazy stuff, because there was this other butcher dude who was taking like this little like basting stick with like blood and like wiping it all over people and stuff. They really don't shy away of making a complete fucking mess. So definitely don't wear anything to the haunted attraction that you don't want to have completely messed up, because your shit is going to get completely destroyed. I even had my phone in this little like waterproof seal just to make sure that it didn't get messed up. I was kind of taking my phone out at times, but you're not able to take it out to record while you're walking through the exhibit, so not that you would want to anyway. They also make it clear in the beginning that if you lose anything while you're walking through the exhibit, that you're more than likely not going to find it, and to let them know about it when you walk through the exhibit. but it's very likely that it's not going to be in the same condition as when you left it. So they do a pretty good job of waiving all liabilities. I guess these people must get a lot of complaints because there was a lot of notice about being 18 and older and the fact that they will be touching you and that is a intense, hardcore experience. There must be a lot of pussies in Eastern Pennsylvania that like to complain about this stuff. I thought it was great. It's not like at any point they were hurting us. Although at one point they did stick us with these chainsaws that were like heavily gimmicked. It's not like it hurt, but it was like heavily vibrating. And like, I guess if you're not a fan of that, if you're sensitive to stuff like that, there's your forewarning. By the way, my light just went out and I don't feel like charging it, so this last minute or so is just gonna be in the dark, whatever. So as I mentioned, you walk through, you get the chainsaw treatment, you have like the butchers that are threatening to cut you up, you're walking through this little like mock slaughterhouse, and then there's this wind tunnel at the end, which is like, feels like walking through a giant vagina. It's like really cold, big wind tunnel, tight walls, and you're walking through, and that's the end of it. You walk out and you walk out the exit right where like the people are walking in, so they get to see you all covered in blood and in my case shaving cream all over my face, and so they can get a hint of what they're going to experience when they walk in. So that's the end of it. That was Halls of Horror in Palmerton, Pennsylvania. If I had to rate it, I would probably give it 4.5 spooky ghosts out of 5 spooky ghosts, as opposed to Dorney Park, which I would maybe give 3 spooky ghosts out of 5 spooky ghosts. Considerably better, definitely a good bang for your buck, and you get a free t-shirt, so that's pretty awesome. Once all the blood and all the other shit dries up from it, it makes a pretty cool souvenir. If you enjoyed the review, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more of my horror reviews as the October month rolls on. Happy Halloween from the Inways Variety channel. This has been Brian Mullaney once again, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.